Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream today. We have a very, very special live stream for you guys. We have Jeremy here joining us today. He's a fellow Canadian that has been in startups for a while. We're super excited to have him on because he has a really big expertise in what we want to talk about today, which is using Midjourney to help us level up our websites. And I'm really excited to talk to Jeremy about this because he's been someone that I've been kind of bouncing ideas off of for a while now in this field. A little bit about him first. He's someone that has been very interested in helping others for a long time. He actually exited a ad tech company, I think, within the last 5 years, and in that period since he exited, he's been very interested in helping others. He built a custom customer discovery framework to help founders and corporates validate new product ideas, and now he's building a whole new venture in ad tech focused in generative AI. So I think he's really the right person to talk about this. But maybe Jeremy, you can go ahead and give yourself a little bit of intro, let the stream know who you are and why you're here.
Awesome. Thanks, Conrad. Hi, stream. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to meet you all. And this is actually my first live stream ever. So kind of hyped about that. But wow. Just a little bit on me. So I've been in tech startups for a long time, as Conrad mentioned. And my first company was one that we built software that connected big brands to a global network of photographers. So if I'm L'Oreal and I need this photographed in 50 different places around the world, we would have the global network of contributors, but also the matching algorithm and the software in order to facilitate that. We built that out for about 3.5 years before we sold our company to Shutterstock, the big image company. Wow. So I had a ton of learnings in terms of how to build a company from scratch, but what's relevant to today is much more on the creative side of things. How do you get started with brand identity? Particularly because in the past, I had learned from the best brands in the world, being the Nestle's, the Unilevers, the big conglomerates. And so they've got that to a science, and it's called brand management. But today we're going to be focusing a lot more on the generative AI aspect of things because, with these new technological vectors, I feel that it's such a compelling topic to be able to build a brand identity in, call it 100x faster than it would traditionally take. So Conrad and I will be exploring a lot more around speed to creative, as well as the fidelity of creative and the reduction of those barriers to creative as well. So I'm excited about this.
Actually, yeah, I'm super excited about it as well. And you brought up a really good point. In the community and in many communities outside as well, there's been a lot of contentious discussions about what do these generative AI tools mean for creatives, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to take our jobs. A lot of people are saying that, it's going to, take away the creative human element of things. But I think today we might end up showing that it's just a tool, like all things are, right? And it's a tool to accelerate what you already have. I'm going to show you the difference between something I might come up with and something he might come up with, and him being a much more creative person than I am, at least in the space, right? I think that you will see for yourself, it's actually what you put in that you get the results that come out. It's always like that input in, output out. And if you don't have, a really good, if you put in garbage, then you'll get garbage out. So you got to figure out exactly, the human element will not go away. And hopefully we can learn.
A small tangent, just, to set the stage here. Yeah. I know there's been a lot of buzz around generative AI, and like to your point, there's been a lot of schools of thought. It's like, is it scary? Is it taking my job? Like, yeah. I actually think, and I was listening to, I think it was Gray Matter. It was a podcast by Reid Hoffman, but a bunch of folks were talking about how generative AI in a lot of ways democratizes creativity.
Yes.
Because no longer is there the barrier of design. If we back up, let's take an example. Photography used to be a barrier because of camera and equipment, and then what the iPhone did was allowed everybody to become a photographer. And so with the democratization of photo taking, only the best really make it, which actually is the true creativity. I think the same principle now applies to generative AI in that if anybody can be a designer and the barrier isn't that you know how to use Photoshop or Illustrator or Figma, then you get to the point where true creativity actually is what separates the mediocre from the best. So I think that's going to be a very interesting shift in the macroeconomics of creative.
Yeah, I totally agree, and thanks for doing that point. Like, it's like all tools, right? Like, my personal opinion is that the value of a person or organization, whatever, delivering a service shouldn't be locked up in their exclusive know-how of how to, build something specific to get there. Everyone should be able to build something. Yeah. It's just that what's the level that you build at? Because the moment that you get everyone involved and able to build the building blocks of whatever you're trying to do, that means that everyone's learning, everyone's growing. The whole industry is moving at a much faster pace. For sure. Right? That's what happened with photography, right? Before it's like, hey, only people that could afford, these big cameras, this big black room setup equipment, this whole film studio. Yeah, then you could, take pictures. But now everyone has so many amazing opportunities to take pictures. And now you have so many opportunities to make creative arts, right? That you probably wouldn't have if you couldn't put like a camera in a 5-year-old's hands, right? Like, this is insane. So yeah, I'm super excited about the future of this, and hopefully through this journey we can talk more about that and share more with the audience how that might end up playing a huge
and I think life. It just means all we're trying to say is pay attention. Because this stuff is going dang quick.
Exactly.
Dang quick.
Exactly.
And if you're not along for the ride, I think you're gonna miss the boat.
Exactly. Well, here's to being on the bleeding edge and figuring out things. So seeing how that would play out. But yeah, let's jump straight into the stream as usual. We like to kind of map out things in the why, what, and how to really give you an idea of what you're gonna walk out of the stream with, kind of the value that we hope to provide and the things that we hope to share with you. And at the end of the stream, see what we can accomplish in this 45 minutes that we have together. So why are we here? So actually we had a live stream on this 2 weeks ago where we were trying to reimagine our Toolbox website as a equipment shop really for your life, right? Your real life adventure. And we want to incorporate game designs into the design or game elements into the design. But we realized that, hey, throughout the process, we were kind of struggling with really visualizing everything. I had the whole Figma page up and I was like, okay, well, what does a product detail page look like? How do we make it more gamified? I was getting a little stuck. I was like, this wasn't really working for me. This wasn't really it, right? I didn't know exactly where to go from that design. I didn't know where to, kind of move things forward, right? And I thought a bit about it. I was like, I can describe this with words. I don't have a problem describing this thing with words.
Totally.
I have a really big problem seeing it in terms of like a design. And if I, went to any designer and asked them for help, I actually would frustrate them a lot because I'm like, hey, that iteration is wrong. They're like, you only give me words to work with. Like, what do you want me to do from here, right? So 2 weeks ago, I started talking to Jeremy, and Jeremy has been working with Midjourney for a while. And I was asking him, like, did you know you could do this with Midjourney? Because I saw this YouTube video where people were generating mockups. It's like, oh, interesting. How do you use it, right? And we started like, riffing off each other and setting up prompts and seeing how that kind of played out. And I was amazed, right? Like, to get the amounts of iterations that I was able to get from Midjourney within the span of time and not have to piss off someone that's actually like trying really hard to create a beautiful design and like, oh, that's not it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's amazing for me. So that was really like the journey that we were on, and hopefully today we can really put into action. So what we're going to do is like kind of a 3-step process, right? I think this is the 3-step process that will make you successful in doing this yourself if you want to try it out, right? One is like brand principles. What must you incorporate in your brand? What must you incorporate in your design? What do you want to put in your prompts? And you don't have to be very, very detailed with it, I think. You just start off with like some general ideas, but then from there you do prompt engineering, right? What is the right prompt for you, and how do we then use this prompt to be successful in our design? And then finally, once you get the designs out, how do we tweak it? How do we get versioning? How do we get different things to show up where we want it? How do we tweak it even in Photoshop if we have to? And I'm curious, like, do you think this is the right steps to go? Would there be anything else you would add here? Like,
I tend to agree here. So I think about the creative process like an inverted pyramid, right? Mm-hmm. So it goes like this. And at the first step is defining those big principles. And for any project, really, it's like, what are the big buckets that I need to accomplish, and what are my table stakes? And then as you move down into zoning in on what specifically it is, you're doing mock-ups. And so what this whole Midjourney process that we're going to show you simply does is it accelerates that mid funnel to get you to some sort of prototype, wireframe, whatever it may be, way faster than it traditionally would. The last step of the way is the implementation of it and to your perfect fidelity. And I don't know if we're gonna actually fully cover that today. It's probably deserving of another topic and another time frame, but at least we'll get you like 50% of the way pretty darn quickly. So that's what excites me. And I mean, it's no longer weeks now, it's hours.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think let's get started. Let's talk a bit about, the brand principles. Like I said earlier, I already have a general idea. We have this Toolbox website, right? Traditionally, our community is kind of split into 3 verticals. You have your knowledge vertical, which is where you're learning new things. We're sharing information that we're picking up off the internet, off real life, off conversations, whatever it is. But then the action step, I think, is super important because, you can learn so many things. You can see so many things in the world. You can listen to so many podcasts.
Right.
But how often do you actually take action on that, right? It's a very small percentage because you just don't have enough understanding of the topic to build first principles around it and build habits around it and build a workflow around it. And we're trying to simplify that. We're trying to make that easier for everyone to understand, and make that easier for people to pick up all these things that they're learning, even passively, right? And then the last vertical is community, right? Where we can make sure that people that are on this journey together can support each other and never struggle alone. So for the action component, we've always symbolized it with like a red, right? This red is like, hey, you want to take action. This is something like urgent, you got to do. Take action now. And a lot of our motifs have always been about like, how do you move, right? This guy's like jumping up in the air. He's moving. He's in motion, right? And, it's kind of really like cut and dry in terms of like, hey, it's an e-commerce website, right? Here you go. This is what we do. This is what you can get from us. And if you click it, this is what you can expect from each product, for example, right? This is like, a little video that's going to explain it, some different variants and whatever. But, one thing that we started talking about, 2 streams ago, and thanks for everyone who joined in and asked questions during that time and, was part of that collaborative process. Basically, we were thinking that it's like, hey, we really are trying to turn real life into a game, right? In a lot of the things that we do. Why don't we just turn this whole website into kind of like a game, fantasy like feel, right? What if we turned it into more of like, hey, I'm coming here. Like if you imagine, like if you were like an adventurer going into like a weapon shop, right? You have 2 options, right? Realistically, one is go to a shopkeeper and say, hey, I am about to go into the forest and kill some wolves. What's the best thing you have for me, right? Oh yeah, you have some leather armor, you have some, gloves, you have some swords, you have whatever. Like they'll introduce things to you. The other option is you already kind of know what you want, and you go to the sword section and you take a look. Oh, these are all the different swords that I have available for you, and which one is the right wear for me, right? And you have a kind of motif, right, where you're going to be really just trying things out. And I think the really cool thing in the future is like, hey, you can even like see yourself like this is your stats right now, and this is your stats with the sword, and with stats with this with this template. Like it'll be very interesting, I think. Anyway, I'm not gonna jump the gun here, but like I'm just telling you, like that was my imaginative process. Then lo and behold, obviously I'm not that good at turning that imaginative process into like a very visual design. That's never been my core strength, right? But my core strength is finding tools and hopefully people, right, to help with that process. So based on what I just shared there, how might you break down the first principles behind this, the brand? Like what would you be thinking?
I think like a big part of the brand principles here has to relate around defining maybe a couple of pillars that are table stakes for the brand, like I mentioned earlier. So, for example, color palette is one of them, but that's such a tactical one. So we probably don't want to necessarily start there. We want to talk about the emotional aspects, and there's a two that stuck out to me already from what you just described to me, and this is my first time seeing this website. So it was the motion piece, and I think the what I related to at least was more like the caricature of it. So the cartoony nature, kind of like there's a version of aspirationalness, but like playfulness as well.
Okay,
so
I like it.
You see what I mean? Like it's like, okay, it's a fictional character. It's not a real person, but it's a cartoon, and that makes it playful as well. So yes, we want to help you improve, but we're not trying to make it super serious from a tonality perspective. Those are the types of things that I'm picking out right now from this website. and I think serve as now cues so that when we design moving forward, we're
Yes.
making sure to incorporate those elements.
100%.
When we think about like jumping a little bit, like what we want to get to is a really good prompt, right? And
Yes.
we'll get into the prompt later. But my point is that like the machine isn't quite like a human. And so the best ways to think about how the inputs go in is like, what would the machine be reading on the web on the web? For instance, if you look at descriptions of stock photos, that's a fantastic example of how the machine would interpret generating an image.
Interesting.
It's like
wow.
people in a park, blah, 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 blah. But then literally, if you just pulled up Shutterstock and you saw an image, that whole description plus the keywords, that's what it's scraping the web for.
The alt text, basically.
Yes, the alt text, the description, the keywords, all those types of things. And so back to principles now, it's like, how do I now translate those principles into inputs that a machine would understand?
I see.
Yeah. So those are the types of things. And I'm just sharing my thought process here on how we might get towards the prompt later on.
Yeah, so something very interesting was Midjourney also came out with something where if you throw in the image, it'll kind of spit out what they think the prompts, like what do they think the alt text would be. I saw that, I thought that was pretty cool because then we can actually see from a robot's mind, right? From a machine's mind, what do they think about your picture, right?
Right.
I might look at any image and say like, hey, this is like, for example, let's say look at this, right? Let's say I look at, you know, this guy, right? I'm like, okay, well, it's a you know, young male jumping up, right? Check to-do list in the background, sticky notes on a whiteboard, you know, describe him more, maybe like yellow pants, white shirt. Like that's where I would kind of go. But I'm really curious actually, like what would you say the machine will be looking at if this was the picture, right?
I think the machine is going to pick out things like very stylistically, right? Like the thickness of the lines, non-shaded, like very full the colors being solid colors, the cartoonish style.
Very interesting.
There's a decent amount of negative space, so it's not like if you were to take an image, it would be like fully all the brick walls would be filled in, right? It's not quite like that. So there are a lot of technical components
Yes.
that because I'm a photographer I can speak to,
Yes.
but I think it for the general public is actually a little hard to get to.
Yeah.
So other examples might be like in technical guidelines, when I generate images or any sort of mock-up, things that I typically like to include are, you know, it could be negative space.
Yeah.
Because then you want to overlay copy on top of that. It could be depth of field. Like if I needed a separation of foreground and background, what does that depth of field look like? It might be white balance or the color palette. It could be around the angles that you're shooting at. So like a worm's eye view is a worm looking up and a bird's eye view is a bird looking down.
I've never heard of worm's eye view in my life. What? That's amazing.
Yeah,
I never.
exactly.
I always thought there should be the opposite.
You can even define things like shot at 30 degrees.
Oh my god.
And other things like if you understand the physics of lenses as well, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you can literally specify, I want this shot at f4 or 28 millimeter lens, which is a very wide lens. An iPhone, I think, actually is in the 24s to 28s,
I see.
just on its standard 1x zoom.
Okay.
But like most street photography, for instance, is done
Yeah.
at 35 millimeters. And so when I look at an image like this, based on the ratios and the proportions, this is shot a little bit wider. It's not an actual image, but I'm just interpreting this as like shot at maybe 28 to 32 millimeters, something like that.
So very curious. Let's try. Okay, you described it your way. I described it my way. I'm pretty sure you're right. More right than I am. But let's also see. Let's throw it into Midjourney here. I have it open. Hopefully everyone can see.
Sure.
Where I've never even tried that feature that I just talked about, where it takes a look and describes an image. So let's go ahead and attach the file. Can I just do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Enter. So let's see what Midjourney, this generative AI, will think about this image, right? We'll think about, there you go. So there's 4 things. Illustration of a man running in front of books in the style of Illustrator creator. Linear illustrations, playful character designs, Smile core, don't know what that is. Lively tableaus, block, hand coloring. Oh, AR. This is the
Aspect ratio.
Aspect ratio, yeah. So office layout, side dynamic pose, hard edge painter, storybook illustration. Very interesting. So it's giving me like a lot of different prompts. And I guess if I click one of these, like you'll create another image you think is in that style, right? I'm guessing
Perhaps.
that.
It might actually just generate a new description. Let's test it.
Yeah. Which one's closest? I think 3 or 1, right? Maybe 3 is
matter.
easier. Yeah, 3. So what happens? I'm pretty sure it's gonna generate an image. Yeah, we need to start there. This looks like the
Okay.
generating image part.
But okay, if you scroll up,
yeah.
there are a couple commonalities between
Yes.
these 4 that we should be taking note of, right?
Yes.
The first, in number 1, we see linear illustrations. So they're talking a lot about the style.
Yeah.
Smile core or characters, playful character designs.
Yeah.
Number 2 is vector illustration, right? Storybook illustration.
Yeah.
And so the machines, a lot of the literature talks about like the style mattering a lot in Midjourney. Number 4 talks about storybook illustration as well.
Yeah.
So I think like this is part of the brand principles here. It's like, okay, we didn't necessarily know what it was called.
Yes.
But we can sort of reverse engineer it by drawing inspiration from, let's say you fed it 5 images from your mood board.
Yeah,
that
let's
does
say from our
represent-
style guide.
Yeah,
let's say, right
totally.
here. All right, and if we fed this, and then we'd know kind of like what we've been doing so far.
Reverse engineer your
Yeah.
style guide, your brand guidelines, and then that now becomes a series of inputs.
Yes.
So that when you are prompting, you're bang on accurate.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Let's also see like what they've generated now. I'm actually curious. Wow, they did so much better. Well, not better, but like
I don't know about better.
yeah, but I mean they did a lot more detail, I think, in the look and feel. But you see, it's not exactly what we fed in.
No,
right,
it's not.
either. So
It's
it's
not.
their own take of what this might be.
But this is where you would need to take that prompt and adjust it. So a couple of things that already strike out to me are like how busy it is.
Yeah.
Relative to the original. The other one is the color palette
Yeah.
is also there. And I think just stylistically, it's not as you may have even gravitate towards this one, but it's not those thick lines with the opaque fill. You can see
Yeah.
gradients on the people's clothing.
I get you. Yeah. So I think like I'm happy to reinvent some things, by the way. Like
Okay.
I think the stylistic look and feel of things, I'm happy to be more rugged and more RPG like as we kind of shift our whole brand towards there. Because we've been historically kind of moving away from that. Like as you can see, like historically we've just been more like, okay, this is a line art. This is simple. By the way, it's simple because I did it myself. It was very tough for me to do anything other than this. So being able to just start from here and now see where we go. I think we don't want to lose the feeling of motion, right? We want to lose the feeling of playfulness. But then how else can we get there? And I really just think having some like good RPG imagery would be very nice there, honestly.
And I think you should also prioritize them in a particular order. Like, so if we look at these brand principles, like in motion, the playfulness, and then maybe your color palette or style guide is the third one. But I would prioritize them probably in this order.
Okay, perfect.
Like the in motion piece.
Yeah.
And perhaps like that original image literally does translate to in motion, but the frame of the image doesn't feel like it's in motion.
Because it's just like little movements that we can tell is motion, but maybe
it doesn't the whole frame doesn't feel like it's in motion. Whereas let's pull up one of the Midjourney examples that have been generated.
Sure.
Like I feel like there's a lot of stylistical things that we could have added, let's say to number 4. Like if he was like running or something towards a goal, and then there's these cartoonish lines, kind of like a comic book. That would showcase that the whole image is in motion.
I see.
I mean, we're going on a creative tangent over here. Yeah. So we'll get back to the prompt engineering over here.
Yeah, so I think we can split our prompt engineering to 2 parts, right? One is like this is what the brand is and what you want to get out of this image. But the other part is like making sure that the structure of it is what we want. So the structure of it, what I'm saying is like, so when I watched that video of the guy teaching how to do like mock-ups and everything, he did a lot of stuff like beautiful website, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful website, you know, UI, UX, so they know that it's something like that needs to be well designed. They did stuff like, you know, I think like vibrant colors, if you care about that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So like they did a lot of like, I would call this probably more like formatting, where I think you can even add stuff like, you know, asset ratios and whatnot, right?
Right.
And then there's part of it which is like your must-haves, right? Which we're gonna bring down from the top. And I'm curious, like,
I think descriptors.
You've had a lot more experience with this, right? So like, how else have you played around with this? Like, I know you talk about like, you know, depth of field and stuff like that. Anything else you can kind of educate
for a
there?
website? It might be a little bit different, because I guess there's two ways to think about this, right? Because right now, if the objective is just to come up with a mock-up of a website, we're not going to be going into like depth of field and stuff like that, because at some point you would actually use that mock-up, build a website from it using your tools like Webflow or Squarespace or whatever, and then regenerate the images at the image level.
I see.
But right now we're just looking at it from the top line level, right? So I think you can remove a lot of those photography variables because we're just trying to go for a first draft at the moment.
I see.
And see what's good and what's bad, and use that as inspiration to then go into the tweaking of the prompts. So,
Have you noticed that like the prompt that goes first or goes last has a difference in Midjourney prompting?
no.
Like, so it will just take everything in account and it will
yeah.
be very average about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so let's look at some of the descriptions you put together here. Adventure in motion, hero's journey.
You can feel free to delete stuff, by the way, if you think it's too much. Because we noticed that if we put too much stuff into it, it kind of breaks. Yeah.
Okay. Formatting. I remember when we were testing this the very first time, we started with these formatting ones.
We can do that.
I think a big one was like era. So modern design, perhaps.
Oh yeah, modern website design. Yeah.
Was a big one.
We did like hero image at some point, like, but that's I think something later.
Yeah.
Product description, maybe product page.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at some point we added like delineations of like 2/3 on this side, 1/3 on this side.
After we identify
exactly.
what we
So
like,
I think we should just run the program.
Okay.
And see what happens.
So we do imagine, and then we do this, and then we're gonna grab this bit, and then comma, add that stuff, and let's see.
And here's the magic, folks. Here's the magic.
Yeah, and I really think like it's very interesting, like the way that it can also even like change the settings. So I've been playing around a little with that. I'm just gonna show that while that's loading. But basically, like I did a lot of generation for our let me just open it up for our community site. So we had like this choose a class feature, choose a role now it's called. And it was basically giving us the opportunity to kind of pick our own roles in life. Like, are we an attacker? Are we a defender? Are we a supporter? Like the whole like top mid lane bot that we were talking about in the house. I thought was amazing. But basically, like, you know, I generated all these with Midjourney, right? It took me very long. It took me like 3-4 hours. But like I was learning. I was trying to figure it out in preparation for this stream as well. But basically, just like, you know, if you use different generators, like if you use like Niji is more for like the anime feel. That's what I used for that. And now let's see, you know, when this is loaded, this is just using normal Midjourney and Midjourney 5, I think.
5.1 right now.
5.1, right? Yeah. So how are we feeling with this? And now should we open it in browser? Make it much easier to see.
Pretty epic.
Yeah, right. This is a pretty cool site, man. Like. This one looks a little bit more clean. This one looks a little more fantasy. I think fantasy might be words we want to throw in there because we're seeing that. Anything else that you think we could improve about our prompts based on this?
I mean, just let's pick which one we like first and what we like about it.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you. 4, if you scroll up, I just want to see 1 and 2 again. Yeah, 4 just seems fun, and it's
it's a bit cleaner.
Cleaner,
Yeah,
I think that's
the
right.
hero's cleaner. I like that the person's kind of bleeding into the bottom. I can
Yeah.
imagine like these are the products that you can take a look at. It's like, hey, here are our wares, right?
Kind of into it.
Yeah, and I could also even imagine like a chat box or something where people can talk to like an AI generated so like the whole shopkeep talking to you and giving you advice on like what you might need in your stage of
All
life.
the NPCs.
That could be super cool.
Yeah.
Again, just leaving a space for that because we're not going to build that obviously today, but
Yeah.
just like leaving a space for that, I think would be really cool on the landing
cool.
page.
So if we like this, my workflow is typically, let me see what the machine generates if I just ask it for variations of my favorite one. So
I've noticed that when you ask for variations, like it changes very little about it, which is I think the point. But I think like what I've started doing is like how much percentage do I like that? Like is it like 60% there? Is it a 80% there? And usually when I find that it's like 40% there, that's where I've tried to figure out what tweak I
yeah,
can
you
do
gotta
with prompts.
re-diagnose
Yeah.
it. For sure.
Yeah.
But also you can use this as an input,
Yes.
right? Because
And
you
then
can download and re-upload that and say, here are the tweaks that I want from this.
I tried doing that. It didn't work that well.
Not
for me.
it's
Yeah.
not amazing.
Yeah.
It's not amazing right now.
Yeah,
But-
certainly.
Yeah.
Let me add something here too. I think fantasy, right, is something that we might want to keep. I think also like we want to be gender neutral with the person, so somehow talking about that as well might be interesting, or at least like in some way making it so that anyone can identify with them. So like what I did for the choose your roles was like I tried my best to like hide the faces so that you can kind of imagine yourself. There's more a silhouette. Yeah, but I think I'm over engineering in some bits, but we'll see.
But then my challenge is if you can't see their face,
Yeah.
is it harder to relate to?
That's true,
That's
I guess.
the contrary
yeah,
of it.
that's
Because there's a
true.
reason why photography has a lot of people's faces.
Yeah,
And marketing and advertising.
certainly. Yeah. But then that means you need to have you need to really well know your audience well.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's right.
certainly.
Your
Yeah.
segmentation matters.
Exactly. Interesting. They got better at these things. Like they gave like a very interesting design. This is like where like the chat kind of comes in, I think. I think they're very confused about what to put in the background.
But
Yeah.
let's admit here, as
Yeah.
a V1 that
This
you
is great.
generated in 2 minutes.
Oh, this is fantastic. Like I
this
couldn't,
is
I wouldn't be able to get this at all.
yeah. We're not down. Let's not downplay this. This
Yeah.
is incredible.
Certainly.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Because then, if you think about zoom out for a moment, what this allows us to do as the creator is start to decide what we like or don't like. And
Yeah.
and if we compare that to what used to happen, you need to get that to a designer. It would take weeks to go back and forth on this.
Yeah.
And now it's minutes. So I think it's absolutely bonkers. You are fully in control of the generation. I do think it's hard to get to 100%,
Certainly.
but how fast you can get to 80%, that's unmatched.
By the way, you have to, I totally agree with this. We have to set what our outcome is. And our outcome isn't 100%. Like, no one should be expecting to say, hey, I have a perfect design and I'm never going to change this. This is what it is. And, I only want the Midjourney to tell me exactly what I need to do.
Yeah.
No, obviously not, right? There still is a human inquiry development. I think what I describe it usually is the first mile and the last mile. The first mile is figuring out the inputs to put in. That's what we did today already, right? The last mile is getting the best the AI could do and then finishing off. Like, I think a lot of people also see ChatGPT the same way. They're like, oh yeah, ChatGPT, everybody is gonna, be able to, cheat on exams and do whatever. I'm like, well, you kind of need a really good input first. You need to know what questions to ask. And if you're teaching kids how to ask good questions, I don't think that's a bad idea. I honestly think that's really good. I'm really happy that kids are learning to ask good questions and just something patient enough to answer all those questions, because most parents aren't patient enough, and most teachers unfortunately are also not patient enough to let the kid keep asking their questioning that can go very far and go very wide, right? And now that the answer comes out, the kid still needs to interpret what exactly has come out there and how to use it in their answer in their test, right? That's also pretty good in my opinion. Like understanding content and then figuring out how to apply that into your rubric of like your normal exam spreadsheet or whatever it is like that you have to hand in. I think that's also a really good skill. So I'm not mad about kids using these tools and learning, because those are the skill sets I think are much more important Like, I think in the past, like, you know, my mom used to talk about like, oh, you know, back in the day when we had to do research, we had to go to the library, we had to like borrow like 30 books, we had to do citing, and we had to like, we had missed the page and we missed information, but that's too bad, right? I'm like, well, I don't have that problem. I don't think about those problems. I think I learned how to Google. Googling was my skill set that I needed to pick up and understand and really get good at. So things change, and I think this is the, you know, good evidence of it being a good thing in my opinion.
I
but
agree.
to each their own, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's say you want to tweak this up. How would you do it? Would we want to continue going from this image, or do we want to also try, because we have a few pages to look at, right? The landing page and the product page. Those are two, I think, fundamentally different. What do we think this is fitting right now?
I mean, I'm okay with it where it is. I think it gets you, you know, 60% of the way there.
Yeah.
Somewhere there. What you might want to elaborate on is the aspect ratio here. Why I say that is because it may, if you make it longer vertically, give you more information, because a true website isn't going to be that small.
How do you do it? -AR.
Yeah. Dash AR, 2 dashes.
Yeah.
And then space, your aspect ratio.
So it's doing this weird thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you say it should be?
Like 9:16.
Okay, let's try that. So let's just throw in the same thing again, just to see what happens.
Yeah.
Oops. /imagine, and then we have this, and then we have this. Is it okay if I put it in the middle?
Yeah, should be fine.
Sure. And let's see how that plays out.
Didn't like it.
Oh, interesting.
What about the end then?
Yeah, AR16. Oops. I'm just seeing what reviews do. I'm not.
Reviews. You want to specify that a bit more?
Customer reviews, I think.
Sure.
I think it's gonna make it really confused.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Yeah, it is all about experimentation. I think if we can learn more, figure out more stuff, it's better overall.
Fail fast.
And this is the fastest failing you can do. Like
100%.
This is a really good fail fasting. Fail fasting. Fast failing.
You failed fast there.
Exactly.
Okay, but you can already see it, right? It is
Longer.
producing a longer.
Yeah, this is very square.
Yeah.
This is much longer.
But I'm hoping what it does is just it produces a longer website, so there's
Yeah.
more information, because it hasn't incorporated the scroll yet.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, right? If we can get more elements, we can pick and choose better things.
Yeah, or like the organization of those elements. Right now,
Exactly.
this looks like the header. That's
Yes,
about it.
And we have nothing else.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think later too, like, okay, so we now have the positioning of the guy, but later on we should just be generating one additional mascot and just throwing that in and making that dynamic. Like
Like a parallax? you mean?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then having that kind of like juxtaposition behind the everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Me likey.
This is an actual game. Like this looks like an actual game.
Yeah.
Okay, the review thing got confusing. Got it.
Yeah.
Too much text. I understand. Yeah, this was really confusing. Okay.
But I think it does. It's interesting to see how it's laid out.
Yeah.
Because what I'm noticing from all of these versions is
Yeah.
that like you got your hero front and center, and then you've got like blocks in either thirds, quarters,
Yeah.
like whatever they may be.
Exactly.
And so I think now, like, let's go back into our design principles. If that is, and even here you got the 4.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, there's got to be something towards that. If it's drawing inspiration from all these other game websites and something, we can use that now as a stylistic principle. It's like columns should be in 3s or 4s.
Can we do that? Columns.
But
columns?
that actually might go into your brand
Yeah.
principles now.
That might change everything else.
Yeah.
So are we able to specify the bottom part of the screen is like that, or like, you know what I mean? It's interesting to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we did this last time. We could say like bottom third is something.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Let's add. I added a game website there. I just wanted to see, and I took out reviews, so that was confusing. I'm curious if that changes anything. Imagine,
Yeah.
and then take this, and then take the AR. Let's see what happens. Because unfortunately, none of these are like perfect, right? Not perfect, but even like 40% there. I think the issue is just too much text. I think the other issue is, like if I think about what makes game websites work, isn't necessarily the website itself. The website is just like this is the world you could be jumping in, you click it, and then you go into the real game, right? Like that's what's exciting for you. So I feel like a lot of game websites don't overly emphasize, like, so let's just, for example, like what League, but Genshin Impact. I think Genshin Impact is a good one because a lot of people know it to be a very, very successful game, right? If you go into it, like, okay, so this is like, by the way, this is the normal process. If you want to do design work, you normally go, your first thing is usually you would go to like a website that you like, that you admire, research, right? So then, yeah, you have like a nice hero section. It's like, okay, yeah. But again, if you had no idea what the game was, you wouldn't know what this is, right? You wouldn't click on anything, you wouldn't know. But like, usually they're already targeting gamers. They already know who their audience is. This is all about new stuff, so that they assume you already played the game before, even. Like, that's also interesting, their assumptions, right? They have like a 4 section, like this common, events, features. Yeah, they jumped into features way late, in my opinion. But again, they assume that people already know what they're talking about before they even jump in, which is different.
Or it's just intriguing that there's so much new stuff.
Actually, I think that's a landing page. This is the actual home.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, amazing, right? Like, what is this? Okay, it's a movie. All right. Interesting. Okay, so they made a movie in their website.
That's pretty cool. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just very different. Okay, we can't take too much inspiration from here. It's a bit too different. Yeah.
Let's see what the bot did.
Okay, so we're getting a bit farther away, I think. Interesting. Okay, this is a bit interesting. Like, you saw that earlier in the game website, right? You had 3 things there. We have a very flat cutoff here, which I don't like. I prefer bleeding into there. What are we doing wrong?
Well, I think maybe we're trying to do too much at the same time.
Yeah, like last time, right?
Yeah. Perhaps it's now that I've seen the 9x16 render.
Yeah.
We actually may choose to break them up into sections.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's the header area, what it looks like. Here's the middle section, and so
header. What would you call the middle section?
Description, or even we may even want to try your customer reviews things.
Okay, just a review.
Yeah, reviews area.
Header page, review page,
and then less so on this descriptors around hero's journey, but you may want to add things like stars and
like, what was good here? Simplicity, right? Simple.
Yeah,
how do you say? Do you add simple here? Minimalistic.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, I'm actually curious. Can we just try this minimalistic bit, and then let's see where we go from there? Because I haven't tried that yet. So minimalistic. We have a product page still.
Product page.
Do all this stuff. And the AR. Yeah, because I think it's when I'm not even feeling like I'm confident to click any of the versions, that's when I feel like, okay, the prompt really needs some
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here.
Yeah. I think it's really fun that they also made like a progress bar. Like, I think they could have just done away with it and say, 50 seconds later, give you something, right? But they gave you like the expectation of like, oh, things are loading.
Yeah.
I
love that.
I didn't think they would be able to do it in Discord. Yeah. Like, they didn't have to.
That's how they keep you hooked.
Yeah, this is extra work. Yeah. Otherwise, people would just do it and then walk away and then come back, right? And now, like, oh, what is it? What is it?
Yeah. But as it zooms in, I'm all, like, yeah, it's amazing.
This doesn't look that minimalistic to me.
I think also we have to keep in mind it's also the version of the model that we're using, because Midjourney 5 is different from Midjourney 5.1. Okay. And I can draw an anecdote from Midjourney 4 versus 5 in that photography became a lot more realistic in version 5. But in version 4, there was this Midjourney type imagery. So you actually might want to try 4 here.
So 5, even 5.1.
But yeah, because the 5 and 5.1 is supposed to render imagery more photorealistic.
Oh.
Whereas the more like cartoony style, more like darks, high contrast, 4 is a lot better for that.
I think we should also take a look at that. Midjourney settings. So model versions. Newest model is high coherency. Patterns is good. 4 is like the surrealism, like you said. And then yeah, flavors of stuff.
But I actually think 4 is probably more.
I think maybe Niji.
Niji might be your more style
if
too.
I'm going more like anime style,
Yeah.
might as well
Let's
go
see.
all in.
Well, you can just render multiple in parallel.
Yeah, so Niji version 5 worked for me last time. And I'm going to just do the same exact prompting.
Okay.
Let's see what happens. And you can see now, even with the different styling, with the different model, things change. So what's this? This was 4.
Was it?
Yeah,
Cool.
interesting. So this became like a legit like game site. Actually, what if we didn't tell them to make a website? What if we told it to make a game, and then I just turned that game into a website? Like, because it knows how games look. It knows how the game shop looks like. What if I just turned that into a website?
I'm not mad by that.
Yeah, I just start off with like the end result, and then we tweak it to what we need. So
Like the items.
yeah,
You're
so
just generating the items.
so let me explain. Okay, so beautiful game, UI, UX, vibrant colors. I don't need minimalistic. So let's see first. See what happens. What comes out of here first? Like I think that's also interesting.
Okay, this is Niji.
Oh, Niji is already much
like it.
easier. Yeah,
I
much
can tell
better.
that's more your flavor.
Yeah.
The cartoony.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Like a stats bar kind of there.
Yeah.
We didn't add stats yet.
Okay, so with a little bit of tweaking, ooh, I like bottom left. It also makes imagery perhaps easier for you to make because of the white background.
Yeah.
And so then moving forward, you may be able to prompt that. You can still create a background and then layer on like this.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the way they've done it here.
Yeah, and that's
so that
parallax.
there's parallax
Yeah, that's
separation. That's I'm also not mad with that.
Yeah. Very interesting. So I think Niji is the way. I'm also supposed to try one more thing here just because I'm very curious and I like to try things. So instead of even telling it to do a website because it's struggling there, I'm going to ask it to do just a game. I'm not even going to do AR just to see. Actually, should I? Might as well. So let's say a landscape game. Because what I'm imagining is like if, because I got this inspiration just now from Genshin, right? They just literally showed the game and the cinematic universe.
Yeah, they showed no mechanics
Yes.
of the inside of the game until you're inside the game.
Yes.
That's kind of cool. It's aspirational. It's like
Yes.
they're just trying to pull you in with the storytelling.
Yes. So like what is the storytelling that I want in the hero image, right? The storytelling basically is, hey, you're here right now with the sword, you could be there, right? Like
Right.
that's the whole
Right,
like
right.
Super Mario
The
kind of
aspirational
like
piece.
have you seen that by the way? I think it's amazing. This has informed me so much on marketing actually.
I mean, I'm drawing a parallel to like the Nike ads, right?
Yeah,
it's
Super
all
Mario Power Up.
aspirational.
Is it marketing? I don't remember. It was marketing. Super Mario. No, this is different. Super Mario Power Up. There's a blog on this. Oh, damn. I wish I could find it right now, but like Power Up Flower. This is you. Like there was a really good blog on basically teaching you like how do you tell customers what you have, and it's not by giving them features, it's not by giving them like all these like, oh yeah, this thing can, you know, go so many miles, but no, like you know, even in like the car commercials, right? They don't just talk about the horsepower. They don't just talk about those things. They talk about this is you driving a car and you can go over, you know, all these dunes. You can go into a forest, and no one's ever gonna drive like that. But you know, they feel good seeing
it's
that.
The aspirational, it's the feeling. Okay, so this looks like a mobile game.
Interesting. So they assumed the aspiration was mobile.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's not what I want, but yeah, give me some information. Okay, cool. So what?
But I think that last version, with Niji, this one.
Yeah.
What percentage would you say this is? Because if the last one was 60 or like whatever percentage,
yeah,
I'm just trying to get a sense of are we improving?
Exactly. So let's stick that into here. So I think this is. Oh, and it's such a good practice to even put the prompt there, so we know what exactly got us there. So let's go ahead and grab this prompting.
And by the way, if you ran that exact same prompt, you wouldn't get the same images.
Yeah, let's show that, right? So if I recycle this prompt, right, it will just show me other things. Does it know that I didn't like the things before, and will it bias it at all?
No.
So it could show me exact same thing randomly.
Similar things.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I would think that this one is. It's tough. I like the status bar kind of idea, or the stats bar. I actually really love that. I would love to be like, hey, you know, this is like the stats of everything. Like this is how good it is in one angle, like
one discipline, one attribute. You're
correct
here, 4 out of 5 stars, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm into that.
I like the. Like I can imagine like choose your weapon or something like that, right? That could be very cool. You like this? Why did you like this bottom one? Was it the hero, or do you like
I think I just love the imagery of the hero. And perhaps it has something to do with just stylistically what I like.
Yeah.
But when I now reintegrate what we learned about your brand principles, about number 1 being in motion, bottom right actually looks the best.
Yeah, she's like jumping.
Yeah, she's in the motion, and you can already see how this would be good in a parallax, right?
Yeah,
because then the frame is in motion, not just like a static image.
Correct.
So when I think about your principles, like moving aside from personal preference,
sure,
in motion, the whole leveling up thing, we got to figure out how to portray that.
Yeah.
And then the color palette, like bottom right seems like the one, just on the top header at least.
Yeah. So we like different pieces of everything.
Yeah. But at least on the top header.
Yeah. That's what I even like really like this. It's like, you know, it kind of reminds me of like an ebook. It's like, hey, get your ebook here, you know, kind of thing.
You know what it does look like? It looks like a one of those skin splash arts in League of Legends.
Sure. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, we were generating something.
Okay.
Interesting. It gets better. Let's see. That's a lot of text, but I kind of get it. It's basically like showing information. This is a lot of swords. Too much swords. This could be cool. Again, I imagine like there's different products here, like different like weapons, so to speak. It's more about the imagery that I'm gonna associate with each product. Actually, I think that's what needs to be happen. Like if I were to like kind of go back into the real world for a second and see what we have, right? Like I can imagine like be intentional could be like, you know, if someone's shooting an arrow right into a target, because that's the imagery there.
You're aiming.
Yeah. If Your Life is like, you know, if you have a guy cosplaying as someone, I don't know, like, you know, like cosplaying as in like you become like an adventurer, right? Like you're thinking you're like, it's somehow just a position of seeing like, you know, a real guy like in the real world, but like suddenly everything's turning into a game. Right. Like, have you watched the Ryan Reynolds movie where like everything he got trapped in a video game or something? But basically, like the whole, like half of the whole thing was pixelized, half of the whole scene was pixelized, and then the real world is slowly pixelizing.
Oh, I see.
Like that was super cool.
I mean, that would be a great imagery for this, yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe that's the thing, right? Like well, auxiliary things like, you know, like a giant quill, you know, writing itself like on a tome.
But like for these types of topics, perhaps it might be good to like even crowdsource these ideas.
Yeah.
Like when I hear gamify your life, my interpretation of it is
Yeah.
like a person, but then you've got like these XP things on the side of your bar,
sure.
or like
Yeah.
the plus XP, or like, but maybe it's a legit real person
Yes.
that I'm looking at.
Yes,
so
yes.
that I can empathize with this.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I'm trying to figure out like what actually changes. Like realistically, we're making this like, more like a game, right? We've got a lot of design inspiration now. Like what would we realistically change? Are we saying that like, hey, we like the parallax look of, whatever, something like this. So therefore we're going to, redesign our, this and that's it. No, right? We won't want that. Maybe we want some stats somewhere. But then scrolling down, we need to, like, I'm trying to figure out, is it a structural change or is it simply just imagery change?
I think there's a structural change here.
Yeah.
Reason why is that when I come to this website, it looks like you're selling a product.
Yes.
Right? I think what you're potentially
Lifestyle.
going towards is lifestyle game, and then the byproduct of that is buying a product.
Yes.
Right? This one is like e-commerce.
Yes.
Super e-com centric.
Yeah.
So I think when we think about like business objective,
Yeah.
we need to like define that as your top rung on the backwards pyramid.
Yeah.
And then brand principles, creator principles, how that fits into that equation.
Yeah.
And then go down at the very bottom of the pyramid, the implementation of that. And that's just all this tweaking stuff. But it still comes back to like what are the business outcomes that we want from our particular landing page.
Yeah, I mean, the business outcome for me has always been like, it's important for the community and the users to, well, for me, it was about discoverability as well. It's like, hey, there's a lot of high level descriptions of a lot of things. I don't really know exactly how this helps, right? So when I started doing like the Figma drawing, I was like, okay, well, we probably want to show like the actual template in action, right? This is a screenshot of the template. This is where your leaderboard goes, like,
Right.
and stuff like that. So like, it's kind of like showing you how the game works, like how is this thing happening. But where I had the ideas of the entire like lifestyle change in like, so I was thinking like it would be kind of like aspirational, inspirational, and then once you click in, that's when you get features and understanding like exactly how I'm going to use it. You imagine yourself in the game now.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm very into it, because then it's basically a case study at that point. It's
Correct.
Like here's
Exactly.
what it looks like. Here's how it works.
Yes.
But I still think the hook needs to be aspirational, inspirational.
There we go. Yeah. So then I think that's what we're trying to focus on here then, because I honestly think this is not a bad design, right, for a product detail page, especially if we can just schemify the elements around it, like, having like kind of a, I would even imagine like these could be like little NPCs telling you stuff like, oh, this is where you're going to interact with me kind of thing. Like there's a lot of fun things we can do there that I'm pretty sure Midjourney won't be able to help me with. But definitely for the aspirational bit, which is like, again, hero's journey, whatever, we can definitely do something there. So how about let's prompt once or twice more. Let's see where we get from there. And then I think we can probably have like a really good conclusion to this and see like exactly how we might want to move things along. Yeah. So we use Niji. Niji is great. We like Niji.
For our purpose.
For our purposes. Yeah.
For like, I would never, if in my line of work, I'm trying to produce photorealistic imagery.
Yeah.
So actually, I would never use Niji.
Actually, can we show some of your work later? Like, I think that'd be cool if you're down for that,
Sure.
just to give a little presentation to people. So let's go ahead. This buying adventure equipment. I'm gonna remove all these like additional swords, shields, whatever. I think it's not helpful. Even buying adventure equipment is not okay. Stats, right? We want to talk about stats.
Stat bar,
Status
XP
bar, XP, gold. Yeah. Earning gold. No. I think
You
gold,
might have to define
I think gold will-
EXP better.
earn XP
Okay.
experience points. I think even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, oh shit! I forgot the
Ratio.
ratio. Yeah,
That's okay.
ratio. Actually, we can even just focus on header now. We don't even care about anything else.
We don't really need AR, to be honest.
Yeah, let's focus on header. I'm gonna have a duplicate of this that doesn't have all these sword shields and whatever, and then earning EXP. Yeah. Let's try. So
Yeah. And I think like for the viewers here, the way I think about how to generate a prompt is it there is a little bit of a framework and a science to it, right? Like we go back to the like how would a machine read this on the web?
Yes.
That's obviously the high level principle.
Yeah.
But then for me, if I'm generating using my photography background, I have to think about people guidelines, product guidelines, environment guidelines, and then technical guidelines.
yes.
So like so for people, I want like two people in a park sitting doing these types of things. Props, I want to see a dog. I want to see a park bench.
All the other things around it.
The environment, I want it to be like sunset with a ton of greenery in Singapore. And technical guidelines, I might want it shot at f2.8 on a 35 millimeter lens. And so like that is a fantastic descriptor for what type of image I'm trying to produce. And just so that you have context on like at least how I think about photography and Midjourney.
Yeah. So I think that's where, I can learn a lot from Jeremy actually, is that for me, like I'm very direct in the sense like, hey, this is the kind of feel that I want, but I'm not specific enough in the specific elements that need to be there. I think that's where Jeremy's really, really helpful, I think. And for you guys too, I hope you guys can take a lesson from that, because if you don't be specific with what you want in each of the tiny details, you're not going to get the tiny details you want.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm imagining that Midjourney is smart enough to figure out, hey, this guy wants an event hero's journey. What's in the hero's journey? Well, there's probably like little animals there. Like there's probably a signpost or somewhere, like a map. Like Noah has no idea about these things. Like this is what I think, right?
Yeah, and you have accrued knowledge.
Yes.
That's why. You
Correct.
think that way because like, oh, it's obvious that I should have a signpost there.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
but it's not obvious to the machine.
Exactly. Yeah. Those examples, by the way, I don't need a signpost. Yeah. But
All right, let's see what it produced.
okay, so produce this first. Actually, I'll open both of them side by side. Give me a sec. I'll let that load first. Okay. So
Okay.
this is cool.
That is cool.
This looks very League of Legends like, actually. Yeah, somehow. This is also very interesting, like flames in the background. Again, I'm missing these stats bar, but I can just put it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, this is you. This is what could be you, something like that.
Have we used words like cartoony or whimsical or something like that?
We haven't, no.
Okay, because I think those words relate to me more for these types of things.
So this is the other one.
Yeah, see, that one's in motion.
Yeah, that one's actually
That's
really
amazing.
emotional. Yeah.
That's an in motion photo.
Let's see what else we do with that one. Okay, let's do a variant on that while we also go ahead and add the whimsical stuff.
Yeah, cartoony.
So it's formatting. Cartoony, whimsical.
Playful, maybe.
Do I really want? I want playful. I don't want whimsical. Playful. Growth while having fun. I don't know. I'm trying.
I don't think the machine's gonna be able to. Yeah.
And we cool to see.
Okay. For an experiment, fine. But like,
Your guess is
how
not
does a
good.
machine interpret growth?
I'd like to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Given all the growth discussions we have, I'd love to know what a machine thinks growth is should be.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. Let's go ahead. We grab this. We grab this too. So we grab this.
And the other one is red. We emphasize red a lot, but we don't talk about white. And I feel like the ones that you liked a lot had a decent amount of white in there too.
Okay, so red and white.
Yeah. Just put red and white and see.
Would you have like the 50% or whatever?
I don't know how to do that yet.
Okay.
On balancing it out.
Okay, so while that loads, let's load this. Interesting. That's super playful for sure.
Very playful.
There's something here. Yeah, I like that. Like, I think this is good for just to even stimulate like what I'm imagining. It's like, okay, you have this person, emotion, parallax background. You would have some sort of like stat bar. It's like, hey, you went from this to this today. It's like, how did I get there? Like, how did I level up today? Like, how did I, improve my life today? And then you scroll down a bit and you'll see like these are the ways you can improve your life, right?
Nice.
Yeah, this is very
I really
cool,
like the
actually.
expression on top right
Yeah,
because it's
very
actually like
playful.
we're having fun
Yeah,
while doing it.
very playful. I love it.
Yeah.
This is pretty high. 70%, I think.
70% good. I mean, if today within an hour we got to 70%, I'd say that's a win.
Yeah,
huge win.
Huge win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also need to teach everyone like how to actually isolate these images as well. Like, because once you get it, you need to actually isolate the people and everything like that, and like put it on your website design. That's a whole other thing
Yeah,
too.
I
I think to learn.
More of an implementation
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
and topic.
So let's go back here. Let's see. I already think there's something there. Oh, it became really childish. Okay. Not too.
Too cartoony.
Yeah, too cartoony. But funnily enough, I like the picture book element. Like it reminds me of like this is how I'm moving along in my life.
I also
Yeah.
think from a website design perspective, this one is a lot easier
Yeah.
to make. Like just like if you think about implementation.
Yeah, it's even a video that you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
click and we can watch,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like I just want to show you. Or you can click it, I'm sure like things will move or something.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I like the body section of this one.
Yeah. Actually, we should be screenshotting specific sections.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now you can just like mock it up by like slicing the dicing, right?
Yeah, yeah. But how do we get there? So my question is, so what prompt did we change to get us to this? But we want to remove the childishness, right?
So it was a cartoony. We added cartoony.
Yeah.
Playful growth while having fun. I don't know what that did.
Actually, do you want to try removing it and see what that did? I'm curious now.
Okay.
Yeah, then we can probably figure out.
But the red and white certainly like changed
Oh yeah.
things.
But should we even go for dark mode? I know a lot of games go for dark mode actually. Like
Your call. I think for something like this, it's contingent on how quickly you can design. Yeah, because dark mode generally has a lot more like work to do with it.
oh, you think so?
I think so.
Okay, okay. I mean, for me, dark mode just means like more black elements.
Oh,
Like I'm not saying like we're gonna have dynamic light
see
mode
what
and
you
dark mode, but more like yeah, just keeping everything darker. Like Discord has kept to a dark mode for a long time.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I think like for growth, for journey, like
Yeah, you want to be
kinda wanna see
white.
sunlight,
You want to be bright.
see the world. Very interesting though. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Niji 5.
Niji 5, let's go.
Pretty dang fast though. I love it.
Actually, Niji is faster than MJ.
It might be because less people are querying it.
Yeah. Which is surprising to me. I think there's a lot of like people out there querying anime.
style.
Yeah. I said that's most of the really cool stuff I see, like the anime style.
Ooh.
What happened to their face though?
Yeah, but agnostic of that, I think
The design.
I
yeah.
like number 1.
Very simplified. I like this. Well, I've never actually seen this, like where they crop out the edges, and like that's really
That's
cool,
cool, too.
actually. Yeah. Very cool. This is also very cool, actually. It's very big, but then there's
like
like doesn't give
artwork.
enough information.
Yeah, but it feels like artwork,
Yeah.
which is cool. I'm just a huge fan of like high bleed, like very big images.
Very cool. Okay, so let's summarize. So I think we have enough information to
Okay.
summarize, and let's say like what changes I think for our like how does our website change? So I'll give my rendition, I think, and then I'd love to hear yours. So what I've learned today is I really like a big hero image. I really like having a realistic, not really, but a fantasy like adventurer in motion, right? So I'm gonna do some kind of effects with that, some kind of parallax effect kind of thing to make it so like, hey, you know, I'm in the fight. I want to really showcase that someone is improving, right? So I'm gonna have some like kind of game window element where it's like, hey, you go from this to this, right? The how. So then the how goes into when you scroll down into the hero and you see like, hey, this is kind of like the different weapons you can choose, the different armors you can choose in the game. I think instead of weapons and armors, so this is the different aspirational elements you can choose. Like it'll be more like, okay, the ranger hitting a target and her being intentional, a big quill writing by itself, for creator's toolkit. Like kind of fantasy like imagery associated with that. Definitely crowdsource that, so let's see what the community comes up with.
Yeah.
But once you get in there, then I think we'll stick to the regular kind of like what people expect out of like a product detail page, because at that point you still need to know stuff like review elements, you need to know what it does. But I think where we can add more game elements is here, like we can figure out some kind of mascot that kind of waves at you and says like, hey, this is where this thing goes. Like this is where this thing goes.
This is like the paperclip from Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
Every 90s babies knows
exactly.
this.
Yeah. Like that little thing that follows you around and like kind of gives you advice. Like even if you go into like modern gaming, like what Legend of Zelda Navi,
Right.
like the little like
Little
fairy
sprite.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what do you think? Like, is that a good rendition of what you think might change here?
I think in general, like it's your website, and I think the fact that we went through these iterations was useful, so that you can identify these things. For me, like the next step, if you could maybe test this out with a couple of your community members and see what they resonate with, I think that would be like the cherry on top here.
Yeah.
Just to see because like we don't building all of this stuff. There's a lot of work here too.
Oh,
we
certainly.
want to make sure that it's like bang on.
Exactly.
From their perspective as well. For me though, like overall, and back to this is my first live stream, so hopefully I can summarize what I've seen throughout this journey. But like the couple of top line learnings that I want to think I leave you with is like everything starts with what you want to imagine, and so the brand principles, making sure that that's nailed before you get into like crazy prompting, because you're just going to get discouraged from all the prompting if you're going on so many different tangents. So defining the principles, that's huge. And you can intentionally not have your brand principles set up right away. If you want to draw inspiration from other places or do just basic querying through Midjourney at the beginning, that's totally fine. But at least recognize that you're in a mode of discovery before you go into like executional mode. Now once you're in the middle mode, which is like this mock-ups that we've been doing, the process of iterating doesn't change. It's just the velocity at which you can do it drastically improves. So continue to do that. And as you saw within the last hour, we went through a minimum of 5 to 10 variations of stuff, which isn't even a lot. But I think like setting aside a good 3-4 hours of deep work and making sure that you get it to 70% would be a fantastic goal. And then the last thing that I would like to speak to is that have fun with this. Exactly. It's back to the democratization of creativity. Like no other time in history were you able to do this. So have fun with it, enjoy the process, because then you'll get way better at it as well.
Find a friend to do it with you. I think that's honestly like what's kept me a lot sane in all this. Like I can't imagine you prompting alone that's in your room trying to
in isolation. It's horrible.
You have to get some feedback, right? And get some sanity checks, and also like not do too overboard with your prompting, like he's saying. Like ultimately you still got to figure out, like at the end of the day, pick what is useful, right? I'm not looking for a perfect everything. I'm looking for perfect sections. I'm looking for perfect specific bits that I like. I'm looking for elements that I can transfer into something else, and I'm going to be satisfied with this sequence of events where I have different fidelities of what I want, and now I go and build it with the help of you guys. So thank you everyone for tuning in. For everyone who's watching the recording as well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to ping in the community. Jeremy's in the community as well. He'll always be happy to answer questions, likewise myself as well. And just have a wonderful start to your weekend. Hope you guys have a great evening, night, however it is. And if you have any last things to say, please feel free, and otherwise, goodbye.
Nothing for me, but thank you everyone for tuning in, and hopefully this was helpful. I hope to contribute more to the community.
Amazing. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.